What's up, Internet? Welcome back to my little box on your screen. Before we get started, if you're one of the people wondering how this random man ended up in your subfeed, means it was one of these.
Researchers at EPFL and Lausanne University Hospital have developed a groundbreaking approach to treating spinal cord injuries that could fundamentally change how
You know what, at some point I feel like I shouldn't have to do this anymore, or at least figure out a better way to plug it in there, but gotta hit you guys with it right away so you don't unsubscribe. Anyways, today we're talking about content creator Sophie Rain and the god-awful amount of money she made in a single year. Italy has banned the use of key lockboxes for short-term rental units. This is actually much more interesting than I'm leading with, I promise. And everything we thought we knew about Venus was a lie. Okay, not really, but it turns out water probably never existed on our orange twin, which has a lot of implications. All in today's...
Why is everyone so fucking stupid?
Episode of... But before we start, make sure you smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on a news update. Now let's just jump into it.
Sophie Rain, a top content creator on OF, recently shared her extraordinary earnings of over $43 million in a single year.
Sophie Rain is redefining what financial success looks like for content creators. $43 million in 1 year is an absurdly high number and a testament to the power of the boner. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. Sophie Rain making $43 million in a year is mind-blowing, not just because it's a ridiculous amount of money, but because it highlights some strange realities about the platform she's thriving on. OF is marketed as a place for creators to interact directly with their audience, but let's be real, at the scale, there's no way she's personally connecting with all of these people. Think about it. Millions of dollars pouring in primarily through tips and messages? It's highly likely that Sophie employs chatbots or a team to manage interactions. The idea of her personally responding to thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of fans every day? Yeah, not happening. So when fans tip for personal interactions, what are they really paying for? An automated reply? A canned video message? And that brings us to the bigger question. Why are so many people throwing money at this? Is it loneliness? Desperation? A fantasy that these creators actually care about them? The staggering amount of money Sophie's earned doesn't just say something about her business, it says a lot about the people funding it. For users, platforms like OF offer something that's supposed to be more than content. They offer connection. But the catch is the connection is often a mirage. It's a curated experience designed to feel personal, but is largely automated or outsourced. Yet clearly it's working, because some people are willing to part with life-changing amounts of money for that illusion. Is this a symptom of broader cultural issues? Are men so isolated, so deprived of meaningful relationships that they turn to platforms like this for even the faintest semblance of attention? That's not just a question about Sophie Rain or those types of platforms. It's commentary on where we stand as a society.
Italy has banned the use of key boxes for short-term rentals, requiring property owners to verify guest identities in person.
Alright now. Italy's decision to ban key boxes and require in-person identity verification for short-term rentals is a direct response to several interconnected issues. Security risks and over-tourism, to name a couple. While the change is being framed as a security measure, its potential implications go well beyond catching dangerous persons. Let's start with the immediate security angle though. Requiring in-person verification ensures that every guest checking into a property is documented and accountable. It's not a perfect system, but having a host visually confirm a guest's identity adds a layer of oversight that simply doesn't exist with anonymous key boxes. And with Italy preparing for the massive influx of visitors during the 2025 Jubilee, these changes seem as much about preemptive crowd control as they are about actual safety. Now let's take a step back and think about the effects a move like this would have here at home. Short-term rental platforms have turned what used to be a quirky side hustle into a massive industry, often dominated by corporate entities. In many cities, large companies scoop up entire apartment buildings or swaths of residential housing, turning them into de facto hotels. Requiring in-person check-ins is a logistical nightmare for these corporate players who rely on automation and remote management to cut costs. This would make short-term rentals harder to scale. And that's the point. If you're an individual renting out an extra room, in-person verification is manageable. But if you're managing hundreds of properties remotely, suddenly your business model looks much less viable. That could cool the market for corporate takeovers of residential housing, which is a big problem. In cities like Los Angeles, New York, and Miami, short-term rentals are often blamed for driving up housing costs. When corporations buy up properties to use for rentals, they remove housing stock from the long-term rental market. Fewer available units means higher rent for everyone else. If we had similar rules requiring hosts to meet guests in person, it could make these corporate takeovers less appealing. Anyways, with fewer properties converted to short-term rentals, long-term housing stock could stabilize and prices might finally see some relief. Of course, this would by no means be a magic bullet. The housing crisis has got some deep roots, but limiting the profitability of turning entire neighborhoods into tourist hotspots could be a step into the right direction.
A new study suggests Venus has likely been too dry to support life, casting doubt on the planet's potential for Earth-like conditions in its past.
Venus, the planet that's long intrigued us as Earth's fiery twin, just got a little less exciting. According to a new study, it's unlikely Venus has ever had enough water to support life. And if you're thinking, but didn't we just find phosphine a few years ago, which would suggest microbial activity? Well, for one, quit showing off. None of us thought that, smarty pants. And two, that optimism has now taken a hit. Here's the deal. As we know, liquid water is essential for life. And for Venus to have ever supported life, it would have needed oceans or at least significant bodies of water at some point in history. Researchers use computer models to analyze volcanic gases in Venus's atmosphere, specifically water, carbon dioxide, and carbonyl sulfide. Their findings? Venusian volcanic gases likely contain no more than 6% water, which is nowhere close to what you'd need to sustain Earth-like conditions. Now you may be asking yourself, what does this all mean? For starters, it undercuts one of the theories that Venus might have once been a more temperate, watery planet before runaway volcanic activity transformed it into the sulfuric acid greenhouse it is today. Instead, the research suggests that Venus has been inhospitably dry all along. Oh, and for those hoping that Venus might have once hosted a thriving civilization that somehow cooked its own planet, sorry, but it looks like they never even had a chance to ruin it in the first place. Turns out Venus didn't need any help becoming the scorched wasteland it is now. The implications also reach out beyond our solar system. Venus-like planets are a big focus for instruments like the James Webb Space Telescope because they're easier to study when they're in orbit close to their stars. If Venus was never habitable, that's a strike against the idea that similar exoplanets could host life too. Sort of narrows the criteria for what we should even be looking for. But before you write off Venus entirely, it's still an important case study for how planets can evolve differently even when starting in similar conditions. Studying Venus helps refine our understanding of planetary atmospheres, climates, and habitability. And not just in our solar system, but across the universe. And on that piece of
space, the final frontier,
I'm gonna call it. So glad you stuck all the way to the end of the video with me. Now do me that last solid and smash that like button. Help spread some news. And until next time, bye.